Commission on Wednesday, October 27th, 2021. We are going to conclude our comprehensive plan amendments today and deliberate. Kevin, maybe I'll just hand it straight to you to kind of recap where we are and what we decided last time.
Should we do a roll call?
Oh, thank you, Greg.
Oh.
Yes.
All right, Michael Baker.
Here.
Jesse Bank.
Here.
Todd Byrather.
Here.
Greg Francis.
Here.
Carol Shook.
Here.
Tim Williams.
Here.
Clifford Winger.
Here.
And Joanne Wright.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Now, Mr. Farabot.
There we go. Yeah, Kevin or Todd, can you remind the public and anybody viewing that the record is closed, public record is closed?
Okay, yeah, I can do that. I was going to lead it to Kevin, but just I'll tee it up. We where we left, this is a continuation of a hearing from 2 weeks ago, and where we left it, we closed the verbal testimony and left the written testimony open until I believe last Monday, and then I'll let Kevin fill any gaps there, please.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll hit that here shortly. So this is, like you said, the continuation of the hearing for all 6 of the comprehensive plan amendments under consideration this year. I'm going to go through some things very briefly just to refresh folks' memory and go over kind of the decision that's before the Plan Commission today. And then I will attempt to get out of the way and let you folks deliberate. So let me get my presentation to respond. There we go. So very quickly, I'm going to go over the decision criteria one more time. As we talked about last time, that's kind of the shape of what Plan Commission is asked to consider for each of these 6 proposals moving forward. You did receive some additional comments, and I'll very quickly summarize those. So the written comments were accepted up until the end of the day on Monday, the 25th, and then I provided them to you on the 26th. So you should have everything in hand. And then finally, I do have a single slide for each one of the proposals that will just help you understand which proposal we're talking about and any particular details that we've asked Plan Commission to make a finding on. So feel free to ask questions as I kind of burn through some of this here. So of course, Spokane Municipal Code 17G020 provides the whole process that we go through for these. That includes a series of decision criteria that you're asked to consider for each of these applications. A number of these are pretty simple, or you know, some of them don't apply, and of course some of them we get more into the details. But just a reminder to everyone and to the public, the staff's analysis of all of these criteria are included in the staff reports that were issued a couple months ago. So there are generally things like the first one is that the proposal is consistent with state and federal law. The next one is that it's consistent with the Growth Management Act. We, if there are any infrastructure needs identified, they need to be in the 6-year CIP. We don't have any this year that were called for additional infrastructure. Changes due to funding shortfalls must include public input. We don't have any that were related to funding shortfalls, excuse me. They must be internally consistent with the comp plan, consistent with regional plans. Cumulative effects have been considered. That's why we look at these as a group. That's why these have gone through as a group consistently throughout the year. SEPA review has been completed for every one of these. We received no comments on the SEPA, and that's complete. Adequate public facilities should be available. Only the city council or the mayor can propose amendments to the urban growth area. This is one that doesn't apply. We don't have any UGA amendments this year. The last one's the big one that we tend to talk about the most, and that's that the need for the change has been demonstrated. So 5 of the 6 are map changes. Just keep in mind for those that they must conform to the location requirements of the comprehensive plan. They should be suitable for that kind of development. That site should be suitable, and that it implement policies better than the current land use and zoning. Okay. Also, the municipal code also provides a shape as to what Plan Commission should consider for each one of these, and so this is what staff's asking you to speak to today with your deliberations and your motions. And frankly, you have 3 options for each one of these applications. One is to approve, and there's some language in there that says it should be based on support for the proposal, consistency with the comp plan, or that you have adequate evidence to justify the need. So you can vote to approve. Approval with conditions, essentially changes to the project that would be necessary for you to feel it should be approved. We have several today that have had some changes made in the past. And so that's kind of where these might fall. And finally, denial. You can recommend that City Council deny an application. The municipal code asks that you to make that finding for following reasons: that it doesn't comply with the guidelines or criteria, that maybe it should be addressed as something else, another product that isn't a comp plan amendment, or finally that you just don't have enough information to make a decision. So you have criteria, and then you have these three options. Greg, I see a question, but Todd, I don't know if you want me to call on people or. Okay, Greg, go for it.
So is there an option to take no action?
That's a good question. I suppose as a recommendation, you probably can take no action. Because the final approval, of course, will go to City Council.
Right.
You always have the good questions. I like it.
Yeah.
So,
no more hard questions, please. I'm looking at the rules right now, so give me a second.
So you did receive some additional comment letters that I mentioned to you. There were several for application Z20206. That's the one on Cleveland, the one that we've had a lot of discussion about the expansion and the change in zoning on that. Keep in mind that you've seen those letters before. They have different names on them. Those are new submitters of the same kind of letter. And then finally, there were two on the Montgomery application. That's file Z20207, one from the applicant, the property owner, and then also one from the agent. So just as a quick reminder, we have 6 applications. 5 of them are amendments to the land use plan map in Chapter 3. You can see them here on the big map on the right. And the last one is a series of changes to map TR5, which is the bike facilities map in Chapter 4. So the first one for consideration today, Z20194 COMP. This is the application on 120 North Magnolia, the McKinley School. You may know this as. Staff's recommendation based on the criteria was to approve. I've included a suggested motion here. Please don't feel that I'm telling you what to say or what direction to go. I just wanted to make sure that we gave you some draft language that might help. So feel free to make a motion based on your feelings, not on what I've put on the screen. So. And with that, I will be quiet and listen to you.
Kevin, thank you. And just, I assumed in our leadership meeting before, but we probably should state it for everyone. We're going to move through one by one, deliberate, take action. That's our traditional, our standard process. Okay. Okay. With the first one, then I think it's appropriate. Commissioner Francis, do you want to open by making a motion?
Sure. I'd like to move to recommend that City Council approve Z20-194 comp as submitted by the applicant. That's the phrase.
I second it.
Okay, so moved by Commissioner Francis and seconded by Commissioner Baker. So just as a reminder, then that allows the commission to move into deliberation. And obviously we're not taking any public comment. Now during deliberation, I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, and even from staff, we can ask questions of especially of staff. I'll leave it there. I don't think we're asking any questions of the applicant. Is that protocol? I don't remember. Kevin?
That would be up to your rules. I'm not sure.
I don't remember either. Should know those. Okay.
I'm taking a look right now.
Okay, and I'm sorry, I'm a little rusty at that. So thank you. Greg, go ahead.
Well, I'm just going to say, I think this site is, to me, I fully support this. I think that this site is right for reuse, and it's struggled for a long time to find that reuse. And I think that this new zoning will help facilitate that. So I'm happy to support this one.
Mr. Baker.
Yeah, I agree with Greg on this one. I went and drove by it a couple of weeks ago, and I think it would be a very, very big improvement in the neighborhood.
Hi, this is Commissioner Carroll. Sure.
Yes, please.
I think that's a great area for it to be refurbished. I think that if they're going to reuse the school, that's a beautiful uh, structure as it is. And so I think housing as well as office space or business on the bottom would be perfect for that area.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other commissioner comments or questions?
Just at risk of jumping on the bandwagon here, I think this is a fantastic opportunity to support what could be a really catalytic project for what I think is a really exciting corridor. The city spent an awful lot of time and effort and money on improving infrastructure and bike and ped infrastructure, et cetera. So in huge support, it's a great move here.
Thank you.
I also support this.
Thank you. Okay. Yeah, I also support this, and I think it was a very productive and well-run public process. So thank you, everyone involved. Are we ready to take roll call? Okay, with that, Jackie, please.
All right, Michael Baker,
Aye.
Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Scott Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
Aye.
Tim Williams,
Aye.
Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Joanne Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you, everyone. Mr. Freibach.
Thank you, everybody. So the next one is application Z20206 COMP. This is the application on East Cleveland Avenue. This is the one that started out as a single property of a private property owner had requested this change. During the workshops in August, Plan Commission voted to include additional properties to the east and the west. You can see them here with the stars on them. At that time, also, Plan Commission recommended a increase in land use. Originally, the applicant was asking for residential 15 to 30. The changes to residential 15 plus, and then also zoning. Originally, the applicant asked for residential multifamily, and Plan Commission's request in August was to change that to residential high density. So that's what you see here. This one also has some additional findings that staff requests. One is obviously the expanded area, the increased density, but also it wasn't clear how the expanded area related to the location requirements of the comprehensive plan, which is one of the findings. So we ask that you make that finding as well if you desire to move forward with this one. Again, staff's recommendation on this one was the original application we recommended approval, but for the expanded area, it wasn't clear enough for us to make a recommendation. So with that, I will mute myself, and I'm happy to answer questions if you do have them.
Questions, or are we ready for a motion?
I have a question.
Go ahead, Commissioner Shuck.
On the original area, that was residential single family being proposed to go to RHD now. Is that correct?
The original proposal was to RMF, or residential multifamily zoning.
And right now it's R.
Right now it's
SF, right?
RSF. Yes.
Okay. And so my question is, in that area that to the left or to the right of that area that to the right of the area that was not asked to change, it is residential single. How many units are in that area, and how large is that space?
You're talking about the eastern area here?
Yes.
I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. I can make a quick count. I think there's 11 or 12 homes in there, and then there's 2 or 3 vacant properties. The acreage on that, you'd have to give me a second.
Was that in the staff report, Kevin?
It should be in the staff report, yes. Let me pull that up. Would be too easy if I had put it somewhere easy to find in the staff report. I know the total increase overall was about 6 acres. Give me 1 second and I can do a quick measurement. So just
Okay, okay, and then, so that would be my first question. And then, how much space again is in the, area that is proposed to go from, residential single family to, uh, moving it all the way up to the RHD? So that would be to the west, that area that was originally requested.
so the area west of Mayfair is RMF now, and this
No,
would
the,
this
no, the property that's adjacent to the one that was, that the proposal came in on.
oh, this one here. Okay, so the
Mhm.
let me go
Original
through it and I'll
application.
make sure I follow you here. The original property and all the properties to the east of it are
Okay,
RSF now. They're currently RSF.
right.
Everything to the west, to the left of Mayfair is RMF now.
Okay, just
Overall
right now.
proceed.
Okay, so just right now, could we talk about the ones on the left?
Mhm.
Just trying to look at what it has been proposed to do, the first original, proposal. So they want to go from, single family, residential single family to RMF, and now we're asking to be increased to RHD. So how much space is in that one little area to the west of where you're, right, that little square area,
To the
right there,
west of
right
this
there,
or
right
that
there where
property.
you, yes,
This property is 0.8 acres. That's the original
point,
part. That's the original request.
0.8.
Mm-hmm.
So for, I'm
It's
looking at,
0.78-ish. So it's 0.8 acres. So the original application, just this one parcel, is 0.8 acres from residential. It's currently residential single family.
And may I add, the staff report on page 2 says the expanded areas, so combined are 6 acres additional.
Correct.
mhm.
What I didn't have off the top of my head, and I'm still trying to figure it out, is the split.
Yeah, I didn't see that immediately.
I may not have split it in the staff report, so I'll have
And
that
so,
here just shortly.
and so
Does that-
right now, the proposal is to change it to, RHD to the west, not all the way to the west. Not across, I think that's Mayfair in there, but
Yes.
to the east of Mayfair, the proposal is to change it to RHD, which it would be, approximately 15 units to no maximum amount.
That's
Mhm.
yes. So that's what the land use is 15 plus is in anything over 15 units per acre. And that's for the proposal to go to R15 plus land use and RHD zoning is what Plan Commission selected for the entire area, the whole 6.8 acres. So they would
Okay.
all be the same if
Mhm.
approved the way we discussed it in August.
I think
I have the split now if you want to know. So
okay, thank you.
the properties west of Mayfair are 2.8 acres, 2.9 acres. So they're almost the same size. This one to the right is about 2.8 acres as well. It just works out to, with the rounding, it worked out to about 6. It's a little more. It's like 2.9 something. So the properties to the west, these two groups to the west, and the properties to the east are about the same size.
At 2.9.
Yeah, ish.
Mhm.
How many significant digits do we need?
And
My
then,
son's in chemistry. He would know what I'm talking.
okay, and then the other added one that has been proposed is 1.8. Okay, and then do we know how much green space is going to be available for this area? Once
Nothing.
if they go to the maximum, how much green space is available for the residents?
There's a, if it develops in the future, there is a stipulation in code that would require a certain amount of private or open public space, like, you know, outdoor areas, if they developed it as a multifamily use. But until that's designed, it's really not, there's no way for us to know how much of this would be green and how much of this would be hardscape or building. Because of course, we're looking just at land use and zoning today. Obviously, when they came back later for building permits, and if they come back for building permits, that's when we would know more specifics about design.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Maybe I'll suggest here, well, we can make a motion and then we can unpack this a little more in deliberation if that's okay.
I saw Commissioner Williams, you had your hand up. Was that a clarification question or a discussion?
Discussion, so why don't we make
Okay.
our motion first and then we can move forward.
Okay, well, I'll go ahead and open this up and make the motion. So I move that Plan Commission finds that application Z20-206 comp conforms to the location requirements of the comprehensive plan and recommend approval, including the expanded area of land use designation of residential 15+ and zoning of residential high density.
I second it.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Francis, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Okay, now I need deliberation, please, or further questions for the staff.
This is Tim. Just this seems like a little bit different from approving the applicant's proposal, and I'm all for us trying to do more to allow for more housing in the city. However, it's a little bit of a leap to add the additional property. So I before being able to make a good decision on this, I wanted to ask Kevin for a little bit of a summary of the public input. My awareness is the people up on Fairview basically just don't want any apartments in their neighborhood, but they are up on that street above. And so they're really somewhat separated height-wise from this, but there's the people up there were opposed. But I believe we had testimony from somebody who owns 3 of the houses in the area that we expanded, who said he was in supportive. So that's almost a quarter of the property there. And then we had another nearby developer who lived in the neighborhood talk about the need for more housing, who supported it. That's my recap. Does that sound accurate?
That's about what I would give you as a good summary.
So maybe the most telling input from the person that actually owned 3 of the properties where we wanted to expand, he would be supportive. It sounded like he owned existing houses versus the vacant land. Is that correct?
I'm not entirely sure which ones he owns. I don't know.
Okay. Thank you.
We may need to clarify the height limit that RHD is meant to be. Is this, I think there was mentioned in a staff report, it was RHD 55-foot height limit, but there is an RHD 35-foot height limit.
The discussion in August and the vote was for RHD, which is 35 feet. So it's, but we do have many other places in the city that are RHD 55.
So that should be part of the motion. I think it's clarify it's RHD 35. That would be clear going forward as a recommendation.
Yeah, RHD 35. The reason it doesn't say 35 is that isn't a zone. It isn't necessary because it's already included in the zone. But we can make that clear here if you guys want to.
Or just simply by stating this, that's implied there that that's what's meant. So
Yeah, ultimately, if you wanted to go to RHD 55, I believe the motion would have to be amended.
okay.
Is
Put it
there a
on my
particular
record.
reason we wouldn't want to go to 55?
I believe the slope behind these properties is about 50 to 55 feet based on our 2007 topology that we have in our mapping. So that's up to Plan Commission though, as to which one you think is more appropriate. That's your decision.
Approximately how many more units could we put in if we went to 55?
I don't know.
Can I
Please.
So I think the staff report is accurate as far as what we should be supporting. I could support the original proposal, but I don't know where there's any policy support for this at all, the expansion. And we're supposed to be looking at policy and going by, what's in the comprehensive plan policy. And there hasn't been any analysis done on, expanding this area. So I don't know that I could support this expanded area at all, except for the original proposal. And I don't know, maybe the other commissioners have a better idea of what their policy they're looking at to think that this is, feasible, but I don't see it.
Kevin, would it be best just for everyone that might be on the call here to recap what action was taken in August and how we got to that decision?
I mean, I can tell you what you voted. So the proposal at the time was from some of the plan commissioners to look at expanding this to the east and west. During that discussion, I recall the height, or not the height, the intensity was also discussed. And ultimately in August, the vote was taken to recommend what you see here, which is residential 15 plus as the land use, RHD as the zoning, and including this expanded area. And that's what we put out in letters and emails and other notification to the neighborhoods and the residents around this as for public notice, basically for public comment. And that's what garnered quite a few additional letters.
Mr. Francis?
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with Joanne here that I am concerned about how this does fit with policy. I have concern about it going to RHD. I think if it were residential multifamily, one, the parcels or the properties to the west are already residential multifamily. And that if it were residential multifamily that we're looking at and land use of 15 to 30, then we'd really only be looking at the original application and the eastern parcels. And that would simply be an extension of existing residential multifamily, which I think is a little bit more aligned with what the comp plan is saying. And it does have adjacency to general commercial and stuff, which I think helps. But I'm not sure if I can support the residential high density. But if we went back to residential 1530 and residential multifamily, I believe I could probably support that.
May I remind the commissioners across the street on Cleveland is general commercial 70 foot?
That doesn't, if you read policy, that has nothing to do with it. So when you're talking about the expansion of higher density, that's what we're looking at. That's a policy that we'll be talking about, which there is no policy support for that.
Does any commissioner want to?
I think there's a process, if because this, this kind of issue keeps coming up, there's a process to go through, and this is what we'd be talking about, when you open your discussions of higher density and housing, there's a process to go through to change these policies if you don't like them. But to just go outside of policy just because you don't agree with it is, I don't think, what we should be doing.
I think maybe, thank you, Commissioner Wright. I think I'd maybe ask someone from staff to try to bring back some of the context when we discussed this in August and what the justification was, the framework that we discussed, if possible.
I'm not entirely sure what you're asking, President Byerther. I mean, I can I can kind of look through my notes as to what the discussion was. I know that policy was discussed. I know that the intent of the amendment was to increase the housing supply in the city. There was a lot of discussion about the housing crisis, about the declared housing emergency by the mayor, but not a whole lot about getting into the nitty gritty of the policy directly. Tyrell, maybe you remember more.
I just want to bring us back to the staff report, and the staff recommendation was to approve the original applicant submitted proposal. And regarding the expansion, because of the unclear if it met that comp plan policy, staff made no recommendation. So we left the struggle to here, as
Yeah.
Greg and Joanne are alluding to.
No, thank you. That's my memory also. But I also recall that there was some thoughtful discussion on if expansion and what the policy was that allowed this commission to make that recommendation, and then we need to fill in the gap of where the recommendation was made to if expansion to move to RHD. And if we can't fill that gap and we can't talk about it now, then we need to.
Do you mean more along the lines of where in the municipal code, I mean, you have the right to make these changes to an application? That I can speak to.
Yeah, I think we should start there, because I think
Okay.
we'll lose everyone here if we're not just tracing our steps.
No, and I apologize. I didn't quite understand what you were seeking there. So,
Thank you.
Plan Commission has the ability within the municipal code to make their recommendation contingent based on changes to the project. And so earlier on, let's see if I can get back there. The approval with conditions is essentially what we're talking about here. So the Plan Commission's recommendation may recommend approval with conditions. Those conditions typically are changes to the project, whether it be the area of the project or the land use or the zoning. Those things can be recommended by Plan Commission. They would move forward as such for City Council to consider. If there is an additional item in there that says if the conditions are substantial, an additional hearing is required. That's in the case that these big changes are made at the dais. This is not the case here. Here we were at the workshop level. It was discussed and voted on to recommend that, and therefore that allowed staff the time to go out and actually make those or to announce those potential changes and to gather information. There are other points along the way where changes can occur to a project, and that includes at the docketing stage. The docketing committee can recommend changes. City council can make changes when they pass the docketing resolution, and city council can still make changes to the project prior to approval at their hearing stage. You'll recall last year, one of the applications came back to you as a remand because they had made a change that Plan Commission had not discussed, and therefore it necessitated it coming back to Plan Commission. So there really are a lot of places along here where you, Plan Commission, where the City Council, where there are opportunities to amend the project. Because again, these are legislative, the intent is to implement the comprehensive plan, and the Plan Commission and the City Council have some directive in that case to be able to say this is the best way to do this. So does that answer your question a little bit, Todd? Or Plan Commission President? Sorry, I got to stop using first names.
You're fine, thank you. Yes, but now we need to thank you. That does, and then we need to retrace. My memory was a decision was discussed and agreed upon, but for the residential 15 plus. Now, admittedly, I can't remember. I remember then the recommendation that RHD was most appropriate if residential 15 plus, but if that's in question, let's discuss that. And I think that's fair game to discuss here.
So what sorry, go ahead.
Well, can I say that, any changes that you make to these proposals should be within the parameters of comprehensive plan policy, correct? I mean, we shouldn't be changing policy or going outside of what that says. And like I say, there's a process to change policy, and this isn't it. I mean, it's our job to be making sure that we're conforming to comprehensive plan policy. So,
Commissioner Wright, can you clarify or specify which policy we would be going against?
Well, outside of centers and corridors, and then, within the area of higher density housing where you do your expansion. And so, that one parcel is close to that, the areas that are already have the higher density, but the other ones are certainly outside of that. And then, they're all, they're certainly not even close to a center, really. So that's,
Okay.
you know,
Thank
yeah.
you. That's what I was, so you're making the argument for it's not consistent with LU 1.4. And then, in our discussion in August, it was yes, because that's in the staff report and that's why staff,
Yeah, and I was on vacation in August,
oh,
unfortunately.
okay.
So, but yeah.
No, but we need to bring it up here. It's perfect timing to bring it up, make sure everyone
Mhm.
is aware and the public's aware. And then the discussion was, staff did not or couldn't or shouldn't take a position in the staff report against LU 1.4. That's up for the commission to make a recommendation. And then the discussion, my memory led to obviously proximity to, division, to an arterial, to transit, to so forth. And that, I don't think I was fully capturing the whole conversation because I remember it being quite lengthy, but anyone want to comment on that?
Yeah, I'll jump in if I could. I recall part of the conversation had to do with an employment center to the east. I don't remember the specific details around that, but I remember that there was some component of that conversation that related to the expansion parcels to the east of the original project. I think from my perspective, I think there was a little bit of misunderstanding, frankly, on my part in terms of the base zoning and land use recommendation for the parcels to the west. In my mind, I see plenty of cover from 1.4 to talk about an upzone of those parcels to the west because it's proximate to the Division Street corridor, which, correct me if I'm wrong, that is an official corridor. No? Okay. Then I stand corrected. Regardless, my point here is I'm not sure you can really achieve under a 35-foot height limit or even potentially at a 55-foot height limit. I'm not sure you could achieve greater than 30% or 30 dwelling units per acre on any of those buildable parcels under the height limit today. So really, realistically, the conversation is the parcels to the east, in my mind. And as I've thought more about this case, those have been the parcels that I've struggled with respect to whether that there is justification for that. Regardless of whether Division Street is an official corridor, it's a corridor in practice and there's transit plans for it, et cetera. And so it's an appropriate location for increased density. But looking now closely at the land use plan map and the zoning map, I think it's really kind of at its buildable capacity today with the land use and the zoning that's on it today. So I think I'm beginning to fall more on the side of I'm struggling to support, given somewhat tenuous plan justification, particularly those parcels to the east.
Okay. Commissioner Williams, please.
I'm leaning more myself, as maybe others are, towards just going back to support the original applicant's proposal, since we're kind of moving a little farther afield with what we are talking about for the eastern part of the neighborhood at this point in time. However, my question would be, at some point in the future, I do think this is a good area to have higher density zoning. I'm very familiar with the area. My previous organization tried to buy property in that area for multifamily. So I think it's a good long-term decision, but if we don't make that decision today, which would probably be inappropriate to extend the applicant's thing area, when could we make that decision, or when in the natural process of the plan commission and the comp plan amendment could you choose to come back and say, let's talk about those parcels? When would that occur? I guess the question for Louis there.
I believe Lewis just stepped away for a moment.
I was waiting for him. I was going to
So-
say,
I will
Quick
try
one
to
for
fill
Carol.
in. I guess that's always, one of the things that frequently comes up when we're looking at these amendments. And that's part of the interest in trying to expand them when possible, and when it fits, because we don't get around to all these areas in the city very often, really. A lot of times when you look back at the zoning history, you'll see things staying the same for a long time. So there is some planning that is beginning to occur at the very high level around the Division Street corridor. But we don't have anything else on the horizon in this area at this time. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, I think the way it might come up is if that property owner that owns some of those lots came back next year in the cycle and asked for a change, that might be the natural way for it to occur. Or it would have to be part of a broader process, which is probably a couple years away, it sounds like. So, but
Right.
thank you.
Terrell, can you answer, or President Buyer, may I, or Todd?
Oh, of
I'm
course.
sorry.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, thank you very much. Could you tell me that there's a little white line that kind of divides the properties from the east and the west? What street is that?
this one here, is that what you're talking about?
Yes, I believe
That's North Mayfair Street.
North Mayfair. Okay. And it
It
looks
is-
like most of the property on that side is residential RMF.
That's correct.
And,
Everything
and
west
then-
of it is.
And then east of it is the residential single family properties.
That's
Is that
correct.
correct? Okay.
Yes.
I'd like to know if maybe we could just go back to the original proposal and eliminate making any changes to the west side, leave it as multifamily, residential multifamily. And then also just vote on the properties on the east side of Mayfair, whether we choose to change that from residential single family to residential multifamily. I think there's going to be too much housing in there if we go to residential RHD. And I don't think that's going to make it very good for that neighborhood. I think it's going to overwhelm that neighborhood.
Thank you, Commissioner Shook. One other, coming back to our notes from August, one other discussion was, what was the pre-2005 or 6 zoning? Should we?
Yeah, so if you look at the staff report, the table on the top of page 4 will show you what the previous zoning was for the original parcel, which it pretty much conforms with what's around it. So in the 50s, it was medium density residential, 70s, it was medium density residential. And then after 1975, and prior to 2006, it was medium density residential. It became the single family parcels that you see here became single family as part of the centers and corridor strategy. After we passed that, we then made a bunch of adjustments throughout the city to focus density where it should be, which is around centers and corridors according to that strategy. And so they were downzoned at that time. So that was, Tyrell, remind me the year on that. Was that 2000, was that 96 or was that 2001?
I'm looking at the staff report and it says after 1975, it was R3D.
Yep,
And
which is
and then
multifamily.
in 2006, it was
That's when it
amended
was
to
stepped up.
what it is now.
Thank you.
Yes. Mhm. So
Okay, well, so I'd like us to move forward, and if someone wants to make an amendment to back this down, now is the appropriate time. I'll say that I'm agnostic to whether it's RMF or RHD. I think RHD was simply more flexible and for this type of proposal, but I don't remember anyone pushing aggressively, to or passionately about this. Commissioner Francis?
Yes, I'd like to amend my original motion to reduce the land use designation to residential 15 to 30 and zoning to residential multifamily, and applying that to all the expanded area, I guess excluding the area that's already that.
So that would be the original parcel and the parcels to the east of it.
Correct.
That's the residential multifamily, Greg.
To residential multifamily.
I'll support that.
Okay, so amend, I don't know if it's an amended motion, and then it's seconded. So just for everyone to clarify, or for me, the original parcel, that's what they were asking, right? RMF?
The original parcel and all the parcels to the east.
Okay, so does not change the original application's intent.
Correct.
Essentially, what that would do is that would approve the original parcel, the original proposal, but it would include the east properties in it. So everything that I'm circling here would be RMF and residential 15 to 30 land use.
Just to be clear, the ones to the west are already residential multifamily, so
Correct.
there would be no change.
And I think we only need to vote on Greg's amendment to his own motion if there's objection to his change of his motion.
He did a friendly amendment to his
So
To his own motion. I like that.
So what
That's
is
as
the
long
motion
as the
again? So could
original
you re-
person that seconded agrees, correct?
I agreed to it, Greg.
Okay.
Okay, so would you restate your proposal, please? What the proposal is?
So my proposal would be basically to, instead of RHD, it would be RMF, and it would apply to the original parcels and to the parcels to the east, which are the ones that are currently residential multifamily or residential single family, and it would take them up to residential multifamily. It would have no impact on the parcels to the west. Nice drawing, Kevin.
Hey, it's not easy with a mouse.
Okay, everyone understand? Now would be a time to make an amendment if you would like to remove those wholly. Otherwise, the main motion as amended would move forward. That'd be the main vote.
I would like to see this residential single properties, the residential single families remain residential single families.
Okay, so is that a motion? So the motion would be, potentially could be to remove all parcels, all expanded parcels to the east.
I just think for that area, it's a small area, and I just think that it's going to be more aesthetic to leave it as it is, and I believe it's going to be bring more value if it's not overloaded with people and housing, and I think that the area to the west would be better served if it would remain as the residential multifamily and just leave the east area, the whole section, including the Z2206 comp, leaving that whole area as a single family resident, single families.
Okay, Commissioner Shook, is your motion then to remove all parcels to the east and leave as is?
Yes, I'll do
Thank
that.
you. Is there a second? to the amendment?
Point of clarification,
I'm confused.
are you also including dropping the applicant's parcel? Because they're
No.
proposing going from residential single family to residential multifamily.
My understanding of the motion would be to remove all
I,
expansion parcels to the east. Go ahead, Commissioner Shook.
yes, because I don't think that that property is going to be sufficient enough for residential multifamily.
Okay, so before we deliberate, is there a second to everyone understand the motion, the amendment?
Mm-mm.
Okay, Mary, go ahead and ask your question and I'll try to clarify.
Mary, you're muted.
Excuse me, there's a motion on the table already. How can you have a second motion?
It says amendment. So the main motion had a friendly amendment by Greg and then agreed upon by the second, which is Michael. So that's the main motion that's on the table right now. Commissioner Shook is proposing an amendment to that motion, and that is asking for a second right now.
So I'm not sure about how it needs to be acted upon. My suggestion is that we could just take it as a vote, and I will vote no on it because I think that that area needs to remain as a residential single family.
So Commissioner
Before the
Shook,
discussion continues, we need to have a second on the motion.
yes, I just want to clarify to Commissioner Shook, was it your intention then to make your suggestion an amendment to remove those parcels? Because I'm interpreting it as you made a motion and we're awaiting a potential second.
Right, I know you are. I'm not sure how that what the process is, but that's my suggestion, is that the whole area remain as a
Okay, the process, if
MSF.
you or another commissioner would make a motion for that amendment to remove those
Okay, so
parcels.
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
That the
thank
whole
you.
area remains single family.
Okay, thank you. Moved by,
Commission President, if I could ask a quick clarifying question. It sounds to me as if the commissioner is saying that she doesn't want any changes to be made, which is technically a vote to not approve. Am
Right.
I incorrect in that?
I think
Are you-
that's what it would be. And so I was just probably deliberating more, but yes, my vote would be yes. Maybe I'm getting ahead of it, but that would be correct.
Yeah, Kevin is correct. I think the commissioner would just need to vote no on the current motion rather than bring a separate motion.
so James, amendment to remove,
It's not an amendment, and she's just
She's basically voting no ahead of time on the proposal.
okay, that's
You
my,
can do that by motion.
that's my misunderstanding.
Well, it was, thank you, Jane. I just wanted to make that comment as well before probably we went to the vote.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
So is her motion withdrawn?
Yes, that was my misinterpretation. It wasn't a motion.
we're getting there.
It was
All
a
right.
commotion, it wasn't a motion.
There you go.
Okay.
So, to be clear, the motion on the table is to take the original parcel or the original application area plus the parcels to the east and change them from to land use residential 15 to 30 and a zoning of residential multifamily.
That's my understanding.
That's what I seconded.
Okay, so any other deliberation on that, or are we moving towards calling the question?
Now would this be the time to make an amendment to that?
Could be, yes.
Okay, so I move to amend that proposal to eliminate the extra parcels to the east and just leave the proposal as the original application, Z20 2006 comp.
Okay, I believe that's also removing to the west. Is that correct? If it's moving back to the original, I think if that's the case, we would want to deny this and then And then,
Okay.
if everyone's in agreement with that, rather than an amendment.
Okay.
Call for the question.
Okay. Hearing no objection to the call. Let's take a roll call vote, please. Jackie?
Michael Baker,
Aye.
Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Rob Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
No.
Tim Williams.
Aye.
That was an aye. Sorry, I didn't hear you, Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Clifford Winger.
Aye.
Thank you. Joanne Wright.
Nay.
Okay, motion carries.
Okay. Okay, thank you everyone on that. Kevin, let's keep moving.
All right. So the next one is file Z20207 COMP. This one is on Montgomery, just off of Monroe. They're asking for a land use of general commercial zoning of centers and corridors type 2 district center. Staff's recommendation was to approve.
I move to recommend that City Council approve Z20-207 comp as submitted by the applicant.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Francis, seconded by Commissioner Baker. Deliberation, please.
I think this is an appropriate change, and I support it.
I agree.
As do I.
I agree.
Okay,
Call for the question.
thank you. Any objection? Which would take a
No.
majority, by the way. Okay. I'm sorry, I heard something from Commissioner Winger. Okay.
I have no objection.
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you. Then we'll take roll call, please.
Michael Baker,
Aye.
Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Rob Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
Aye.
Tim Williams,
Aye.
Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Joanne Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, real quick before we go to the next one, I just want to make sure everyone understands when we call a question. We've been over this before, but it's always good to remember. If someone calls the question, we do have in our rules the process if someone wants to object to that. I don't know if I can find it quickly enough, and maybe we'll just come back to it if it comes up. But Kevin, well, let's move forward, and I'll look forward. And if someone calls a question, we can review make sure everybody understands the procedure.
Terrific.
Thank you.
So the next one is Z20208 COMP on West Cinto Avenue. The proposed land use is residential 15 plus, zoning RHD 55. This one, the docketing committee recommended actually to expand this one to include the rest of the block that was also zoned to family. And so we're looking for a finding from you or a part of the motion to also include whether the expanded area should be included. Our analysis in the staff report was pointed to a staff recommendation of approval. So this is the one south of Maxwell. Just keep in mind this one and the next one are right next to each other. So we're not talking about the school yet. That's next.
And to remind, a statement from the commission on the finding, approval with the finding is helpful to council. That you find it's in conformance or you find it's consistent with X policy, that is helpful to council.
Okay. I'd like to move to recommend that City Council approve Z20208 comp and that it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan as submitted by the applicant and including the additional parcels added during the threshold review process and listed in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Francis, second by Commissioner Baker. Any deliberation?
Again, I think this is a good one. Monroe Street is a corridor. This is right adjacent to the community school, which has lots of opportunity for growth. And so I think this is fully in compliance with what we're looking at with the comprehensive plan as far as where higher density residential should exist. So I'm going to support this.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none. I'm also in support. Let's move into roll call, please.
Michael Baker,
Aye.
Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Todd Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
Aye.
Kim Williams,
Aye.
Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Joanne Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you. Kevin, please.
All right, two more, almost there. This one is Z20209 COMP. This is the 1025 West Spofford. This is the community school proposal. Their proposed land use is CC Core. Their proposed zoning is centers and corridors type 2 district center, which would match the other ones along the corridor. You'll remember at the workshop and at the we did talk a little bit about whether it should be CC type 1 or type 2. And so we're asking you to include in your recommendation today whether you think it should be 1 or 2. But I'll come back to the suggested motion. I just want to remind everyone. So type 1 is called pedestrian emphasis, auto accommodating. It's the more pedestrian oriented. They're all pedestrian oriented centers and corridors, but this one's leans towards the pedestrian. So there's limitations on some auto oriented activities like drive-throughs and car lots. Type 2 is still pedestrian enhanced, but it's more auto accommodating. That's where you might get some drive-throughs, gas stations and things like that. Staff's recommendation is, or staff's question to you is whether it should be type 1 or type 2, seeing as how it's a school and it's right on a transit stop. So I've written the suggested motion as type 1, but honestly, you guys can fill in whatever you want there if you want to use our suggestion.
Kevin, I'm not going to use your suggestion.
That's okay.
I'd like to move to recommend that City Council approve Z20-209 comp as submitted by the applicant, but changing the zoning to CC1-DC.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Francis, seconded by Commissioner Baker. And so, Commissioner Francis, you just wanted to change the wording. It wasn't a reject the CC1. You had me for a minute there, and you're CC.
You're going to get something juicy there. Jeez.
Yeah, I'm going general commercial here.
Yeah, that's right. But I do want to just make sure everyone remembers the recommendation from CC1. If you haven't read the staff report or remember the workshop, anyone want to discuss that? Kevin?
I think it's a great change, and going from to CC1, and I know that the applicant was fully on board with that when they were asked that question at the last hearing. So I support the change to CC1-DC.
I do as well, and I think it's important, at least in my mind, to remember that these recommendations run with the land, and even though it's currently owned by the school and is currently proposed to be a new school facility, that's not necessarily the case. Going forward, it doesn't have to be the case, and I think particularly given proximity to North Monroe being a corridor, and transit frequency and all of those things, we should be doing everything we can do to prioritize pedestrian over auto centered uses in this kind of a location. So I think it's a great move and look forward to supporting it.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. And just as a reminder, everyone knows what that means. that's CC1 versus CC2. So more pedestrian
Yeah,
focused.
there's a lot of bus riders that catch buses on those corners, so I think CC1 is good.
I do have a question for staff. You know, I look at that whole area and I see that as primarily CC2. Is that simply from historical use for those properties when centers and quarters was put in place?
Yeah, the CC2 DC designation was the standard for corridors that have not gone through a sub-area planning process or that longer planning study, which is true of this section of Monroe. So that's why that's all CC2. In this case, we get an opportunity to look at it before that sub-area planning and kind of make you get to make a recommendation based on what you know now rather than the blanket approach.
Right.
And we could talk about our work plan next week with council. Anyone else? Okay, I think this is a good one. Can we have roll call, please?
Michael Baker,
Aye.
Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Todd Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
Aye.
Tim Williams,
Aye.
Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Joanne Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you so much. We got one more. So let's see. The last one is file 21022 COMP. These are the various amendments, or this year's various amendments to the bike master plan and the bike map that's in chapter 4 of the comprehensive plan. So we've moved into a new chapter. You can see the summary map on the right. If you need to see one of the detail ones, I can pull those up. But for this, I think that gives you an idea of what we're looking at. Staff's recommendation for these was approval. And that's it for me.
I'd like to make a motion to recommend that City Council approve Z21-022 comp as submitted by the applicant.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Francis, second by Commissioner Baker. Any deliberation?
My only comment was, you know, during there was some public comment with some concerns about a couple of the areas, but I think the way Colin had addressed that was that they would be addressed during the actual implementation phase. And so I'll support these changes.
Yeah, I agree. This is always the confusion when we're talking about TR5 map change versus the actual project implementation and so forth. So I agree. It was well done.
Yeah, I think these are some really good bikeways, and hopefully we can work with Parks Department to add some greenway things in on the streets to do traffic calming and make it greener.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Roll call, please.
Michael Baker,
Aye.
Jesse Bank,
Aye.
Todd Byrather,
Aye.
Greg Francis,
Aye.
Carol Shook,
Aye.
Tim Williams,
Aye.
Clifford Winger,
Aye.
Joanne Wright.
Aye.
Motion carries unanimously.
Terrific. Just real quick, if I could,
Please.
Commissioner President. So we'll go ahead and wrap all this up, and we'll get findings to Planning Commission President to sign very soon. I just wanted to let everyone to know that these applications are going to council study session tomorrow. You can view that online at the City Cable 5 link, just like usual. And that's tomorrow at 11 a.m. Other than that, we'll keep moving these forward through council. And thank you so much, everybody, for all your time, attention, and understanding as we've gone through all of these. We're taking in applications for next year. They're all due Monday, and so we're going to start all this again fairly soon. So thank you so much.
Nice job, Kevin.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Kevin and staff.
Thank you, Kevin.
Yeah,
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Todd, can you ask the plan commission if they're okay with you signing the findings without further review, or if they want to review them? We had that come up last time around.
Yeah,
That's
we
a good question.
can. Again, and I was assuming that we would not bring it back, but we're happy. Well, let's not say we're happy to. Let's ask if there's a request for that.
I'm fine with you signing as we decided.
Okay.
Yeah, I am too.
Thank you, everyone. Okay, good job, everyone. Good luck, applicants. Thank you for all your effort on this, and thank you, staff, especially.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you.